I should have noticed sooner. That's the thought that haunts me now, in the quiet moments when I'm rocking my son to sleep. I should have seen the signs. I should have known that something was terribly wrong. But how could I? He was only 3 weeks old, and every day brought something new. A different cry, a new sleeping pattern, another thing to worry about. That Tuesday started like any other. My mother-in-law had come over to help, or at least that's what she called it. Really, she just wanted to hold her grandson, which I didn't mind. After 3 weeks of barely sleeping, I was grateful for any chance to take a shower or eat a meal with both hands. "Go rest, sweetheart," she said when she arrived that morning. "I've got him. I raised 3 babies, remember?" I did remember. She reminded me often. I handed over my son, my tiny, perfect boy who still smelled like milk and baby soap, and went upstairs. I took a long shower, the first one in days where I didn't rush. I even blow-dried my hair. When I came back down an hour later, everything seemed fine. My mother-in-law was on the couch, my son sleeping peacefully in her arms. She was humming softly, swaying gently, the picture of grandmother bliss. "He's been such a good boy," she said, smiling up at me. "Didn't fuss at all." "That's great," I said, reaching for him. "I should probably try to nurse him soon." She handed him over reluctantly, and I settled into the rocking chair. But when I tried to latch him, something felt off. He seemed interested. His mouth opened, he rooted around, but he couldn't quite seem to coordinate the sucking. He'd latch for a second, then lose it. Latch, then lose it. "Come on, baby," I whispered, trying again. "I know you're hungry." But after 10 minutes of trying, he still hadn't managed to eat properly. He wasn't crying about it, which was strange. Usually when he was hungry and couldn't latch, he'd get frustrated and wail. This time, he just seemed tired, almost too tired to try. "Maybe he's not hungry yet," my mother-in-law suggested. "I'm sure he'll eat when he's ready." I nodded, but I felt uneasy. Something wasn't right. Still, I was a new mom. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe this was normal. By lunchtime, though, I knew it wasn't normal. My son hadn't eaten at all. He'd tried a few more times, but he just couldn't seem to coordinate the sucking and swallowing. And he was so sleepy, more than usual. I couldn't get him to really wake up and stay alert. "Marcus," I called to my husband, who was working from home in the office. "Can you come here?" He appeared in the doorway, a coffee mug in hand. "What's up?" "Does he look okay to you?" I asked, holding our son up slightly. Marcus came closer, studying our baby's face. "What do you mean?" "He hasn't eaten since this morning. He can't seem to latch properly. And look at his face. Doesn't he seem kind of floppy?" Even as I said it, I felt ridiculous. Floppy? What kind of medical description was that? But I didn't know how else to describe it. His muscle tone seemed different, weaker somehow. Marcus frowned. "Maybe we should call the pediatrician." "It's probably nothing," my mother-in-law interjected. "Babies have off days. You both worry too much." But a mother's instinct is a powerful thing, and mine was screaming that something was wrong. I called the pediatrician's office. The nurse listened to my concerns: difficulty feeding, excessive sleepiness, weak muscle tone, and there was a pause on the line. "How old is the baby?" she asked. 3 weeks. "And you said he's having trouble sucking and swallowing?" "Yes. He tries, but he can't seem to coordinate it." Another pause. "I think you should bring him in, today. Can you come now?" The urgency in her voice sent ice through my veins. "Yes, we'll come right now." Marcus was already grabbing his keys before I hung up. My mother-in-law stood up, wringing her hands. "Should I come with you?" "No," Marcus said quickly. "We'll call you when we know something." In the car, I sat in the back seat with my son,
watching his chest rise and fall. His breathing seemed normal, not labored or fast, but everything else felt wrong. He was too quiet, too still. Where was my alert, hungry baby who demanded to be fed every 2 hours? "He's going to be fine," Marcus said, but I could hear the worry in his voice. Babies get sick. It happens. I didn't answer. I just kept my hand on my son's chest, feeling each breath, praying that whatever this was, it wasn't serious. But deep down, in that place where mothers know things they can't explain, I knew we were racing against something terrible.
Our pediatrician took one look at my son, and her expression changed. Dr. Morrison was usually warm and chatty, the kind of doctor who made you feel like everything would be okay, even when you were worried about nothing. But when she examined my baby, testing his reflexes, watching him try to suck on a pacifier, checking his muscle tone, her face became serious in a way I'd never seen. "How long has he been like this?" she asked, her stethoscope against his tiny chest. "I first noticed the feeding problems this morning," I said, "but looking back, he's been extra sleepy since yesterday afternoon." "Any fever? Vomiting? Diarrhea?" "No, nothing like that. He's just weak." Dr. Morrison set down her stethoscope and turned to face us. "I'm concerned about his muscle tone. He's showing signs of hypotonia. That's muscle weakness. Combined with the feeding difficulties and lethargy, I think we need to get him to the emergency room for a full workup." My heart dropped into my stomach. "The ER? Is it that serious?" "I want to rule out some things," she said carefully. "In infants this young, we have to be very cautious. I'm going to call ahead so they're expecting you." The drive to the hospital was a blur. Marcus drove while I sat in the back, my hand on our son's car seat, watching for any change. He looked so peaceful, sleeping there. How could something be so wrong when he looked so calm? At the ER, we were taken back immediately. No waiting room, no triage delay. That's when I knew this was serious. They don't rush you back unless they think something might be really wrong. A young doctor introduced himself as Dr. Chen. He asked us the same questions Dr. Morrison had asked, then examined our son with gentle, practiced hands. "Has he been exposed to anyone sick? Any travel, any unusual foods or substances?" "He's only 3 weeks old," I said. "He just has breast milk, nothing else." "And no one in the household is sick?" "No. My mother-in-law was over this morning, but she's healthy." Dr. Chen nodded, making notes. "I'm going to order some tests. Blood work, maybe a lumbar puncture to check for infection." "A lumbar puncture? A spinal tap? On my 3-week-old baby?" I must have made a sound because Marcus grabbed my hand. "Whatever you need to do," he said to the doctor. Over the next hour, our son underwent test after test. Blood draws that made him cry weakly, that terrible soft cry that sounded nothing like his usual robust wail. The spinal tap, which I couldn't watch. More monitoring, more questions, more concerned faces. And then around 6 p.m., I noticed something that made my blood run cold. "Marcus," I whispered, leaning over the hospital crib where our son lay. "Look at his face." His expression was slack, not just sleepy, actually slack. His eyelids were drooping asymmetrically, and when Dr. Chen came back in, I pointed it out. The doctor's jaw tightened. He checked our son's pupils with a light, tested his gag reflex, watched him try to suck on a pacifier. "His facial weakness is progressing," he said quietly, "and his gag reflex is diminished. We need to move him to the NICU now, and I'm calling in our pediatric neurologist." "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "What's happening to him?" "We're not sure yet,
but we need to monitor him closely. Some of these symptoms suggest a problem with his neuromuscular system, the connection between his nerves and muscles. Neuromuscular. The word sounded terrifying.
They transferred our son to the NICU, and suddenly he was surrounded by monitors and machines. An IV was placed in his tiny hand. Leads were attached to his chest. Every beep and alarm made me jump. Marcus and I stood there, holding hands, watching our baby lie motionless in the hospital crib. He looked so small, so fragile, and I had no idea what was wrong with him. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. A new doctor appeared, older, with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire room glasses. I'm Dr. Sarah Patel, pediatric neurology. I've reviewed your son's case, and I need to ask you some very specific questions. We nodded, mute with fear. In the past 48 hours, has your son been exposed to any honey, corn syrup, or any home-canned foods? I blinked, confused by the specificity of the question. No, he only drinks breast milk. Why? Has anyone else fed him anything, given him anything by mouth, even a taste of something? No, I said, just breast milk. My mother-in-law watched him this morning, but she wouldn't give him anything. She knows he's too young for food. Dr. Patel nodded slowly. Okay. I'm asking because your son's symptoms, the progressive muscle weakness, the cranial nerve involvement, the diminished reflexes, they're consistent with infant botulism. Botulism? Marcus said. Like food poisoning? Similar but different. Infant botulism is caused by spores of a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. These spores can be found in honey, corn syrup, and sometimes in environmental dust or dirt. When infants ingest the spores, they can germinate in the intestines and produce a toxin that affects the nervous system. I felt like I was hearing her through water. But he didn't eat any of those things, I swear. The most common source is honey, Dr. Patel continued. Even a tiny amount, less than a quarter teaspoon, can contain enough spores to cause illness in infants under 12 months. He didn't have any honey, I repeated, my voice rising. I know about that rule. Every parent knows about that rule. Dr. Patel's expression was sympathetic but firm. Sometimes well-meaning relatives or caregivers give it without the parents knowing. Old remedies, traditional practices. I've seen it many times. My mother-in-law. The thought hit me like a physical blow. My mother-in-law, who was always talking about how things were done in her day, who thought modern parenting was too cautious, who had been alone with my son for an hour this morning. I need to call someone, I said, my hands shaking as I pulled up my phone. She answered on the second ring. How is he? What did the doctor say? Mom, I said, using the name I'd called her since Marcus and I got married. I need you to think very carefully. When you were watching the baby this morning, did you give him anything? Anything at all? What? No, of course not. Why would... Did you give him honey? Even a tiny taste? There was a pause. A long, terrible pause. Mom? Marcus had taken the phone from me, his voice tight. Did you give our son honey? It was just a little bit, she said, and her voice was small, confused. Just on my finger, to help him sleep. My mother used to. How much? Marcus demanded. How much did you give him? I don't know. A little bit. Maybe half a teaspoon? Is that bad? Did I do something wrong? Marcus looked at me, and I saw the horror in his eyes reflected back at me. We need to go, he said to his mother, and hung up. Dr. Patel had been listening. That's likely our answer, she said quietly. I'm going to start treatment immediately. We'll administer BIG, botulism immunoglobulin, which contains antibodies against the toxin. It's most effective when given early. Will it work? I whispered. It significantly improves outcomes, but I need to be honest with you. Your son is going to get worse before he gets better.
The toxin is already in his system, and it will continue to affect his muscles for the next 24 to 48 hours. We may need to intubate him if his breathing becomes compromised. Intubate. Breathing tube. My 3-week-old son. I felt Marcus's arm around me, holding me up because suddenly my legs didn't want to work. We're going to do everything we can, Dr. Patel said, but the next few days are critical. As she left to order the treatment, I looked at my son, my beautiful, helpless baby, and felt a rage so pure and hot, it scared me. My mother-in-law had done this with her old-fashioned remedies and her refusal to believe that things had changed. She had poisoned my baby, and now we had to wait and see if he would survive.
They started the BIG infusion around 8 p.m. I watched as the clear liquid dripped through the IV into my son's tiny hand, praying that it would work, that it would stop the toxin from doing more damage. But Dr. Patel's words kept echoing in my mind. He's going to get worse before he gets better. By 10 p.m., I understood what she meant. My son's muscle weakness had progressed to the point where he could barely move. His cry, when he did cry, was barely audible, more like a weak mule than the healthy wail I was used to. His eyelids drooped so much that I couldn't tell if he was looking at me or just staring into nothing. And then his breathing changed. It became shallow, irregular. The oxygen saturation monitor started alarming, 92%, 90%, 88%, and suddenly nurses were rushing in. "He's going into respiratory distress," one of them said, and Dr. Chen appeared as if summoned. "We need to intubate," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "The toxin is affecting his diaphragm." "No," I heard myself say. "No, no, no!" But Marcus pulled me back as the medical team surrounded our son's crib. Someone was explaining what they were doing, asking for consent, but I couldn't process the words. All I could see was my baby struggling to breathe, his tiny chest moving in shallow, ineffective gasps. The intubation took less than 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. When it was done, a machine was breathing for my son. Rhythmic, artificial breaths that kept him alive. "He's stable," Dr. Chen said, checking the monitors. "The ventilator will do the work while the BIG neutralizes the toxin. His muscles need time to recover." Time? How much time? How long would my baby have to lie there, paralyzed, breathing through a tube? "Go sit down," Marcus said gently, guiding me to a chair. "You're shaking." I was. My whole body was trembling, a combination of adrenaline and fear and exhaustion. I sat, but I couldn't take my eyes off my son.
Around midnight, there was a commotion in the hallway. Raised voices, someone crying. Then the door to our NICU room opened and my mother-in-law appeared. She looked terrible. Her face was blotchy from crying, her hair disheveled, her clothes wrinkled like she'd been clutching them. When she saw our son, saw the breathing tube, the monitors, the stillness of his tiny body, she let out a sound I'd never heard before. Part sob, part wail, pure anguish. "What have I done?" she whispered. "Oh God, what have I done?" Marcus stood up, and I saw his whole body go rigid. "You need to leave," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Marcus, please." "You almost killed him," Marcus said, and his voice cracked. "You gave honey to a 3-week-old baby. How could you not know? How could you be so stupid?" "I didn't know," she cried. "I swear I didn't know it was dangerous. My mother gave it to all of us. It was normal. It's not normal," Marcus shouted, and several nurses looked our way. He lowered his voice to a harsh whisper. "It's dangerous. It's one of the first things they tell you not to do with a baby. How could you not know that?" "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping. I thought it would soothe him.
I never imagined. Well, now you know, Marcus said coldly. Now you can see what your help did. Take a good look, Mom. That's your grandson on a ventilator because you thought you knew better than modern medicine. She looked at our son and crumpled, collapsing into a nearby chair with her face in her hands. Her sobs were loud and raw, the sound of someone whose world had shattered. I wanted to comfort her, despite everything, despite the rage burning in my chest. Part of me wanted to tell her it would be okay, that we'd get through this, but I couldn't, because I didn't know if it would be okay. I didn't know if my son would live through the night. Please leave, I said quietly. We can't have you here right now. She looked up at me, her face desperate. Can I just see him? Just for a moment? No, Marcus said firmly. You need to go. A nurse gently took my mother-in-law's arm and guided her out of the room. We could hear her crying in the hallway, the sound fading as they led her away. Marcus sank back into his chair and put his head in his hands. I can't believe this is happening, he said. I can't believe my own mother did this. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? So I just moved my chair closer to his and took his hand, and we sat there in the dim light of the NICU, listening to the ventilator breathe for our son. Hours passed. Nurses came and went, checking monitors, adjusting settings, speaking in quiet tones. Dr. Patel stopped by around 3 a.m. to check on the progress. She said the BIG is circulating. It's binding to the toxin, neutralizing it. But the damage that has already been done to the neuromuscular junction will take time to heal. We're looking at days, possibly a week or more, before we see significant improvement. But he will improve? I asked desperately. He'll be okay? Dr. Patel's expression was kind but cautious. Infant botulism has a very good prognosis when caught early and treated properly. With supportive care and the BIG, most babies make a full recovery, but I can't make promises. Every case is different. Most babies. Not all babies. After she left, I moved to stand beside my son's crib. I slid my hand through the porthole and gently touched his arm. His skin was warm, soft. He looked like he was sleeping peacefully, except for the tube in his throat and the machines breathing for him. I'm so sorry, I whispered to him. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. This isn't your fault, Marcus said from behind me. I left him with her. I should have been more careful. You trusted your mother-in-law to watch our son for an hour. That's normal. That's what family does. You couldn't have known she would do something so dangerous. But I felt like I should have known. I felt like I should have somehow prevented this. The night stretched on, endless and dark. Neither of us slept. We just sat there, watching our son breathe with the help of a machine, praying that the medicine would work, that his tiny body would heal, that we wouldn't lose him. At some point, as dawn began to lighten the windows, Marcus spoke. I don't know if I can forgive her, he said quietly. I looked at him, saw his pain and anger warring in his expression. I don't know if I can either, I admitted. But forgiveness, I would learn, isn't something you decide in a moment. It's something that grows slowly, painfully over time, like a wound healing from the inside out. First, though, our son had to survive.
My mother-in-law called multiple times a day. Marcus wouldn't talk to her. I answered once, mostly to tell her that our son was stable but still critical, and that we needed space. Please, she begged, please let me come see him. I need to know he's okay. He's not okay, I said, my voice flat. He's on a ventilator. He can't move. He can't breathe on his own. None of this is okay. I know, she sobbed. I know, and it's all my fault. I'll never forgive myself. But please let me see him. Let me apologize. Not now, I interrupted. I can't handle this right now. I need to focus on my son. I hung up and immediately felt guilty. She was Marcus's mother. She was suffering too, but I had nothing left to give her. All my emotional energy was focused on the tiny baby fighting for his life in the isolate. On day 4, something changed.
I was sitting beside the crib, my hand resting on my son's leg, when I felt it. A distinct movement. Not a random muscle spasm, but an intentional kick. "Marcus!" I whispered urgently. "Did you see that? He moved his leg." Marcus rushed over and we both stared at our son's lower body, waiting. A few seconds later, it happened again. A small but definite kick. "Oh my God," Marcus breathed. "He's coming back." We called for the nurse, who checked the monitors and smiled. "That's exactly what we want to see. His motor function is starting to return." Over the next 24 hours, we saw more signs. His facial muscles began to regain some tone. His eyelids lifted more evenly. His mouth moved slightly. His arms and legs became more active, no longer lying completely limp. By day 5, Dr. Chen came in with news that made me cry with relief. "We're going to try removing the ventilator," he said. "His breathing muscles have improved enough that I think he can manage on his own with some oxygen support." "Are you sure?" I asked, terrified of what might happen if they were wrong. "We'll be right here monitoring him," Dr. Chen assured me. "If he struggles, we can re-intubate immediately. But I think he's ready." The extubation was scheduled that afternoon. Marcus and I stood back while the respiratory therapist and nurses worked, gently removing the breathing tube from our son's throat. For a horrible moment, nothing happened. My son lay there, still and silent. And then, a breath. Small, shallow, but entirely his own. Then another. And another. His oxygen levels held steady. His chest rose and fell in a slightly irregular but functional rhythm. "He's doing it!" the respiratory therapist said, smiling. "He's breathing on his own." I covered my mouth with my hands, trying not to sob too loudly. Marcus pulled me into his arms, and we held each other, shaking with relief and exhaustion and the overwhelming weight of almost loss. Our son was breathing. He was going to make it.
A week after the honey incident, I couldn't think of it as anything else, my son was moved out of the NICU and into a regular pediatric room. He was still weak. He tired easily when feeding, and his muscle tone wasn't fully back to normal. But he was improving every day. The doctors said he'd make a complete recovery, though it might take several more weeks. We were finally allowed to hold him without 100 wires attached. I spent hours just cradling him, feeling the solid warmth of his body against my chest, listening to him breathe. It was during one of these moments that Marcus brought up the inevitable. "My mom wants to visit," he said quietly. I looked up from where I was sitting in the rocking chair, our son asleep in my arms. "I know. She's been calling me every day. She's destroyed, honestly. She sounds terrible." I didn't say anything. "I'm still angry," Marcus continued. "I don't know if that anger is ever going to completely go away. But she's my mother, and she loves him. She made a terrible mistake, but it wasn't malicious. I know that too," I said softly. "So, do we let her come?" I looked down at our son, at his peaceful, sleeping face, at the small nasal cannula providing a little extra oxygen. He was alive. He was healing. And he would never remember any of this. But I would remember. We all would. "Yes," I said finally. "But not alone. We need to be here." Marcus nodded. "I'll call her." She arrived within an hour, which meant she must have been sitting in a hotel nearby, waiting. When she walked into the room, I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight, her clothes hung loosely on her frame. Her face was gaunt, aged by grief and guilt. Her eyes were red-rimmed and hollow. She stopped in the doorway when she saw us, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Thank you," she whispered. Thank you for letting me come." I gestured to a chair across from us. She sat slowly, her eyes fixed on her grandson. "He's breathing on his own now," I said. "He's getting stronger every day." Her face crumpled and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "Thank God. Oh, thank God." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the quiet beep of the monitors and my son's soft breathing. "I need you to understand something," my mother-in-law finally said, her voice shaking. "I have been living in hell this past week. Every moment, all I can think about is what I did, how close I came to... She couldn't finish the sentence. "I didn't know," she continued. "And I know that doesn't excuse it. I know that ignorance isn't a defense when a child's life is at stake. But I need you to believe that I truly, genuinely thought I was doing something good, something my own mother did for me." "Things change, Mom," Marcus said, and his voice was tired rather than angry. "Medicine advances. We learn new things. What was considered safe 30 years ago isn't safe now." "I know that now," she said. "I've spent the last week reading everything I can find about infant safety, all the things that have changed. And there's so much I didn't know. Sleeping position, crib bumpers, car seat rules. It's completely different from when I raised you." She looked at me, her eyes pleading. "I thought I was being helpful. I thought my experience as a mother made me knowledgeable. But I was wrong. And my arrogance, my assumption that I knew best, almost killed my grandson." I saw genuine remorse in her face, not just guilt, but true understanding of what she'd done. "The doctor said botulism is more common than people think. There are about 100 cases a year in the US. Most people just don't know about the honey risk." "But I should have," she insisted. "I should have asked you first before giving him anything. I should have respected that you're his mother, not me. I had no right to make that decision." Marcus leaned forward. "No, you didn't. And that's what we need from you going forward, Mom. Not just an apology, but a fundamental understanding that our rules for our son are not suggestions. They're not negotiable. They're not old-fashioned or overly cautious. They're based on current medical knowledge, and you need to respect them." "I will," she said immediately. "I promise you, I will never do anything with him again without asking you first. Even something that seems completely harmless, I will always check with you, always." She looked at our son, and her face softened with love and pain. Can I hold him? Just for a moment." I looked at Marcus. He hesitated, then nodded. I stood slowly and walked over to her, carefully transferring our son into her arms. She cradled him like he was made of glass, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, little one. Grandma is so sorry. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you're safe. I promise." Our son stirred slightly, made a small sound, then settled back into sleep, peaceful, trusting, unaware of the drama swirling around him. My mother-in-law held him for a few minutes, then carefully handed him back to me. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for letting me hold him. Thank you for not hating me." "We don't hate you." And I realized it was true. We're angry, we're hurt, we're traumatized, but we don't hate you. "I don't know if I can forgive myself," she said softly. "Neither do we," Marcus admitted, "but we're going to try." And that was the best we could offer. Not absolution, not immediate forgiveness, but the promise to try. It would have to be enough.
We brought our son home 2 weeks after the honey incident. He was still weak. Feeding took longer than it should, and he tired easily. but the doctors were confident he'd continue to improve. They scheduled follow-up appointments to monitor his progress and gave us a long list of warning signs to watch for. I was terrified to leave the hospital. At least there, we had monitors and nurses and doctors immediately available. At home, it would just be us. What if something went wrong? What if we missed something? "He's gonna be fine," Marcus assured me as we drove home. But I saw his hands gripping the steering wheel a little too tight, his eyes checking the rearview mirror every few seconds to see our son in his car seat. We were both traumatized. That was the word the hospital social worker had used. Trauma. Not just stress or worry, but actual trauma that would take time to process and heal. Those first few nights home, neither of us slept. We took turns sitting beside the bassinet, watching our son breathe, counting each breath, checking for signs of distress that existed only in our traumatized minds. "This isn't sustainable," Marcus said on the fourth night, finding me at 3 a.m. sitting beside the bassinet with my fingers on our son's chest. "We're going to make ourselves sick." "I just need to make sure he's okay," I said. "He is okay. Look at him. He's sleeping peacefully." But I couldn't stop. The fear had burrowed into me, taken up residence in my chest, and I didn't know how to evict it. It was our pediatrician, Dr. Morrison, who finally helped us understand what we were going through. "What happened to your son was traumatic," she said during our first follow-up visit. "And what you experienced as parents, watching your child nearly die, feeling helpless, that's going to have lasting effects. You might want to consider talking to someone, a therapist who specializes in medical trauma."
We did. We found a counselor who helped us process what had happened, who taught us strategies for managing the anxiety and hypervigilance. It helped. Slowly, gradually, we began to relax, to trust that our son was healthy, to sleep for more than an hour at a time. My mother-in-law maintained careful distance. She called every few days to check on her grandson, but she never pushed to visit. When we finally invited her over, 3 weeks after coming home, she arrived with visible nervousness. "I brought something," she said hesitantly, handing me a shopping bag. Inside was a leather-bound journal. I opened it and saw pages of handwritten notes. At the top of the first page, it said, "Things I did that are no longer recommended." I flipped through the pages, reading her notes. "Put babies to sleep on stomach, now known to increase SIDS risk. Used crib bumpers, suffocation hazard. Gave honey, botulism risk. Started solids at 2 months, now recommended to wait until 6 months. Didn't use car seats properly. Didn't know about rear facing until 2 years. Put baby cereal in bottles, choking risk, not recommended." The list went on for several pages. At the end, she'd written, "I raised 3 healthy children doing many things that are now known to be dangerous. I was lucky. I mistook that luck for wisdom. I won't make that mistake again. From now on, I defer to the parents and to current medical knowledge. Always." I looked up at her, tears in my eyes. "Thank you for this." "I wanted you to see that I understand," she said hesitantly. "I really do get it now. Things change, knowledge improves, and just because something worked for me doesn't mean it's safe or right." She approached the bassinet slowly, asking permission with her eyes. I nodded. She looked down at her grandson, who was awake and alert, his eyes tracking movement, his arms and legs moving with a restored strength. "He looks so much better," she said softly. "He's almost back to normal," Marcus said. "The doctors say he'll have no lasting effects." "Thank God."
She touched the bassinet edge gently, not reaching for the baby, just being close. I will never stop being sorry for what I did, but I'm grateful, so grateful that he survived, that you both survived. We're not the same as we were before, I said honestly. This changed us. I know. It changed me too.
6 months later, I'm rocking my son to sleep. He's thriving now. Healthy, strong, hitting all his developmental milestones. The only reminder of what happened is the story we'll someday tell him, and the wariness I still feel when anyone outside his parents wants to feed him anything. The trauma has faded, but not disappeared. I still sometimes wake up in the night and check his breathing. Marcus still gets anxious when our son seems extra sleepy. We're both probably more overprotective than we need to be. But we're healing. My relationship with my mother-in-law has been rebuilt, but it's different now. She respects our boundaries in a way she never did before. She asks before doing anything with her grandson. She defers to our judgment without argument, and she's become an advocate. She tells everyone she knows about the dangers of honey for babies, about how things change, about the importance of listening to modern medical advice. She told me once, "I want something good to come from my mistake. If I can prevent even one other baby from going through what he did, then maybe I can forgive myself." As for me, I've forgiven her. Not immediately, not easily, but gradually. Over time. I forgave her because I saw her genuine remorse, because I witnessed her commitment to change, because I understood that she acted out of love, not malice, even though love without knowledge can be dangerous. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I will never forget the sound of the ventilator breathing for my son. I will never forget the helpless terror of watching him struggle. I will never forget how close we came to losing him. Those memories have changed me. They've made me more cautious, more vigilant, less trusting. And I've had to make peace with that, with the fact that trauma leaves marks even after the wounds heal. Last week, a new mother in my neighborhood asked for parenting advice. She mentioned that her mother-in-law wanted to help with the baby. "That's great," I said. "Family support is wonderful. But make sure you're clear about your rules, about what's okay and what's not. Don't assume everyone knows current safety guidelines, even if they've raised kids before." "Like what?" she asked. "Like never give honey to a baby under 12 months. Not even a taste. The spores in honey can cause infant botulism, which can be fatal." Her eyes widened. "I didn't know that." "A lot of people don't," I said. "That's why it's so important to communicate clearly with anyone who cares for your baby." I shared my story with her, not to scare her, but to educate her, to help her understand why these rules exist, why they matter, why you can't just rely on what worked before. When I finished, she hugged me. She said, "Thank you. I'll make sure everyone knows our rules." "Good," I said, "because the alternative isn't worth it." Now, sitting in the quiet of my son's nursery, I hold him close and breathe in his baby scent. So much stronger and healthier than those terrible days in the hospital. He's drowsy, content, safe. He will never remember what happened, but I will carry it always. Not as a burden, but as a reminder. Love is not enough. Love must be combined with knowledge, with respect, with humility. Love must be willing to say, "I don't know," and "I'll ask first." My mother-in-law loved my son. That was never in question. But her love, guided by outdated information and misplaced confidence, nearly killed him. Forgiveness came when I understood that her love was real, even though her actions were dangerous. Forgiveness came when she showed me she understood the difference. But I'll never forget the lesson.
The most dangerous mistakes are often made by people who believe they're helping. Marcus appears in the doorway, his expression soft as he watches us. Is he asleep? Almost, I whisper. He comes over and kisses our son's head, then kisses mine. We're okay, he says quietly. All of us. We're okay. We are, I agree. And it's true. We're okay. We survived something terrible, and we came out the other side changed, but intact. Our son will grow up healthy. He'll never know how close he came to not growing up at all, and that's a gift. The gift of forgetting what you never really knew. But we will remember, and we will use that memory to protect him, to educate others, to prevent what happened to us from happening to someone else. Sometimes the people who love us most can hurt us worst, not because they don't care, but because they don't know. And sometimes forgiveness isn't about absolving the mistake. It's about accepting that love and harm can exist in the same moment, from the same person, and choosing to move forward anyway. Because in the end, the only thing more powerful than the fear of what almost happened is the gratitude for what didn't.